Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. What a weekend it was for football at Acrisure Stadium. We're here to break it down with you. We have a lot to get into. That'll be our #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Man, loss and another loss, and the Steelers with a 24-20 loss to the Jets. Here to debate it and all the aspects of that game. Panel tonight, we have Chris Mack from the Fan Morning Show. Also, Adam Crowley with his Showdown debut in the middle from the Fan Morning Show. And Josh Yohe from The Athletic, who does such a great job covering the Penguins, but he's also a football aficionado, which is why he's here. So, guys, let's get into it. Finally, a quarterback switch. I think it was just a matter of time, Chris, before we thought we might see one, and it would take a special instance. Today was it. Mike Tomlin wanted a spark, and he got what he wanted. He didn't get a win, however.
No, I mean, color me surprised, because I really thought they would hold out on bringing Kenny Pickett in as long as humanly possible, at the very least until the bye week. But credit to Mike Tomlin for seeing that they needed a spark, like he said, post-game, and getting them one by putting Kenny Pickett in there. I love that Kenny Pickett played aggressively, which Mitch Trubisky clearly has been afraid to do up to this point. I love the fact that he went for it, although I don't like the fact that he did go for it with 5 minutes left in the game where they're supposed to be running the clock out. That ball to Pat Freiermuth, which you could argue should have been caught by Freiermuth, also should have been thrown into the first row.
Because they were in field goal territory, really.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah. But I'm willing to live with those mistakes from Kenny Pickett, because that's what you live with when you put in a rookie first-round draft pick quarterback. I'll be willing to live with it because of the aggressiveness he shows when they're down and they're trying to come back.
I didn't have a single problem with anything Kenny Pickett did in the game, including that second interception. I think Pat Freiermuth has to catch the ball. I know Kenny said he wanted to get it up high. He got it up to where only his guy could get his hands on it. I think you got to make that play. And I also think that, to your point, he was aggressive, Chris. And I like that. I don't think this is a good football team either way. But if you're going to beat teams like the Bills, or at least even stay in shouting distance of teams like the Bills, you've got to be able to push the ball a little bit down the field. Kenny Pickett trusted his reads. He got hit and made throws, things we haven't seen Mitch Trubisky do to this point.
Guys, a loss at home to the Jets is a terrible thing. There's no other way to put it. And yet, I kind of feel good about what I saw from Kenny. I know you look at the box score, you see 3 interceptions. Only the second one. I didn't love the decision, but okay. Obviously, the first and third weren't on him in any way. The word is spark. There was a big one. And, yeah, he threw 3 picks. He also didn't throw 1 incompletion. You know what that means? He was really accurate. He made some great plays. I love the guts. I love the moxie. Mitch Trubisky runs for his life the second he sees pressure. How often this season has he stepped into a throw? How about Kenny taking...
He had opportunities today.
He did.
Several times.
Kenny took a hit, got the guy's face afterwards, let him know about it. That's what people want to see. That's what his teammates want to see. Maybe the skill position guys could help him out a little bit and help the quarterbacks out a little bit. I didn't think they'd be the weakness of this offense right now, but they might be. Let Kenny play the rest of the year. This whole season is about grooming him now. They're not a playoff team. It's pretty obvious. Let him play. There's something there with him. I really believe that.
Go ahead.
Chase Claypool's got to come down with that ball in the middle of the field.
Yes.
I think the other word that I would use is decisive. That's the thing that struck me about the difference, guys, between Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky. He was decisive with those reads. He made those throws. Even if it didn't end up working out, like the pick that glanced off Freiermuth's hands, he lived with it, right? He's going to live with the mistakes. Mitch Trubisky, to your point, Josh, at one point had a perfect opportunity late in the second quarter to climb the pocket and make a play. Instead, he ran around in a circle like a chicken with his head cut off, afraid to make a mistake, and ran right into a sack, which he's done multiple times through the first 2.5 games.
I think that throw that he made to Freiermuth was what Kenny Pickett is all about. He's willing to stand in there, take a hit, make a play, if he feels that's the right thing to do, and he will do it, whereas we haven't seen that. You're right. So now the question is, Josh, do they stay with him? There is some debate. I know a lot of people out there believe that Kenny Pickett, I'm one of them, he should now play the rest of the season except for injury. But some people believe that in a game like Buffalo, which are going to be huge underdogs, that maybe they go back to Trubisky. Any chance of that happening?
There's a chance. I think Mike Tomlin's always wanted Trubisky to be the guy, and he's the coach. But I feel like Tomlin caved to pressure a little bit today, don't you guys? A little bit? Like, he hears the crowd. He knows.
How about Mike Tomlin making the entire world think he was going to draft Malik Willis, and then he takes Kenny Pickett? He made me think Kenny Pickett wasn't going to be a quarterback.
I honestly
Maybe
think
that's all part of the game.
Pickett was going to be around. I think at 20, they thought there are a lot of reports indicating that Pickett would have been gone in the top 10.
Oh, that's right. But I think he will start in Buffalo if I had to guess. I would start him the rest of the season. I think it makes sense. Who gives you the best chance? I know he threw a couple picks. It was the best the offense has looked. They're going to lose in Buffalo one way or the other, let's be honest. The odds are very, very much stacked against them. You got to let him take his lumps. Who cares if it's a tough schedule? Let him get better. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Odds are you're 1-7 or 2-6 going into the bye, given the next month of games laying in front of them. Maybe Kenny Pickett sparks you enough that you're able to win one or maybe even two games that you didn't expect you win. Maybe Tampa comes in here and doesn't look that great on offense. Maybe you surprise Miami if Tagovailoa is still out. Who knows what happens there? And why would you go away from the rookie first-round draft pick after you put him in? You're fully in on Kenny Pickett at this point. There's no reason to go back to Mitch Trubisky, which is why I've been saying it since the day they signed him. The signing of Mitch Trubisky was a waste. They had their this is relitigating stuff from the past, but they had their stopgap guy here in Mason Rudolph. They could have taken the $5, $6, $7 million they were going to pay Mitch Trubisky and thrown that into a better offensive line signing or Chris, something on the defensive side of the ball.
I truly believe if they knew Kenny was going to be available at 20, I don't think they signed Mitch Trubisky. I really believe that. But that's in the past.
But I don't think that you don't know in that. You can fake people out all you want, but you never know.
That's right.
But the situation now means they need some guys to step up also. So, Adam, with these wide receivers, I looked at Chase Claypool. I saw 0 catches. I see Deontay Johnson with 2 catches. And, come on, Claypool's in a situation where he's 6'4", he's got a 5'8" defender on him, and while that pass was a bit underthrown, or it was there eventually later than it should have been potentially, he has to make that play. And he made those plays as a rookie. He's not making any of those right now, and yet he said he was going to have a 1,300-yard season.
Yeah, he's been a disaster, and I know that I've spent a lot of time blaming Matt Canada for the Steelers' offensive failures and Mitch Trubisky for the Steelers' offensive failures. If Deontay Johnson catches a ball in 3rd and 3 in Cleveland, that deep ball, a beautiful pass from Mitch Trubisky, they might be sitting here with a second win. If Deontay Johnson catches the ball over the middle, maybe Kenny Pickett doesn't even get in there today because there's no interception there. The wide receivers might be the biggest problem on this offense right now if you want to absolve Matt Canada. Not that we do, but the wide receivers have not carried their weight.
No. They have been a complete disaster. Didn't Claypool pronounce himself a top 3 receiver in the league before the season?
Touchdowns.
And you're right, Bob. His rookie year, there was an explosiveness with him. He was catching deep balls. He had a ton of touchdown catches. What has happened to this guy? When's the last time he had a combat catch?
George Pickens is better today.
No, he's 100 times better. It's not even close.
And the offense as a whole is going to be better once it's centered around Pickens as the #1 target in the receiving game. Freiermuth is right there with him as a 1B to his 1A. And they did start, I thought, at least in the first half, to figure some things out on the ground. Once this offense is built around running to then set up Freiermuth in the middle and Pickens on the outside, the offense will be better. I can't imagine Chase Claypool sees an extension this offseason.
No.
I can't imagine Deontay Johnson is around for more than another year, especially if he thinks that he can go get a $20 million deal somewhere else, which I doubt he can. But, yeah, the sooner this offense is based around George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth, at least in the receiving game, the better.
It would help to have a nice running game and some 100-yard action by Najee Harris, which we haven't seen too much of. But we'll see how that goes coming up. Meantime, when we return, we're going to talk about the Steeler defense. It was supposed to be dominant. It was anything but today in the 4th quarter. In fact, all season in the 4th quarter. We'll talk about its problems when we come back. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown on KDKA-TV.
#1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran. Go one better.